This is the Creative Soulpreneur podcast. I'm your host, Nemitz. Let's go. Welcome back to the podcast, my friends. Today's guest is an old friend of mine. That sounds terrible. Old friend of mine.
Long time.
Long time. That's a much better choice of words. Old friend.
Although there's a great Sondheim song called Old Friends. So I'm
And,
I'm for that
and a
one.
new Broadway show called Old Friends.
Yes, there is. Thank you,
Uh,
Bernadette Peters.
And Lea Salonga,
Lea Salonga.
Beth Level, great cast.
Oh God, I didn't know Beth. Oh yes.
Yes, Beth Level's in it too. I'm so excited. I'm going to see it. I'm seeing it Saturday night.
Oh,
Uh, okay. I have a
FOMO, FOMO, FOMO.
long time friend with me. Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so honored. Thank you.
So, theater nerd. We just theater nerded out at the very beginning of this podcast.
Can't help it. It's our DNA.
It is, and when I say longtime friend, I realized today when I was thinking about this that we met when I was 18 years old. That's a long time ago, my friend.
Well, yeah. We were young once. A black box somewhere in Michigan.
At a black box theater at WMU, Western Michigan University. And here's what I remember about you. I so
Mm.
looked up to you.
Oh gosh.
You were an upperclassman. You're slightly longer in the tooth than I
Yeah.
am, just slight. And, and we're at the same age now, but back then that was a big deal. You know what I mean? Like the upperclassmen. And you had this, first of all, a kick-ass voice, like incredible voice that
Those were the days.
everyone talked about. And you had a real quality of stage presence that was pretty incredible, honestly. I want to hear, though, what led to you being in Kalamazoo at WMU and me meeting you. Who were you? Who was your theater kid? Were you a theater kid?
Oh my, was I a theater kid? I like to say that I was raised sitting underneath the table of my father's shows. My dad is and was a phenomenal artistic director and educator. And so I would say he probably did 5 to 7 shows a year. And I was there for almost all of them. My parents co-owned a theater, a summer stock theater, Equity Summer Stock in the late 70s. And so you can imagine the summer stock scene in the late 70s in Michigan was rocking. And I lived in a trailer behind the theater for a year, every summer for 5 years. I'm a theater kid through and through. And so everything I did, and as soon as I was old enough to be on the stage, I was on the stage in kindergarten, being the smallest orphan boy in the chorus of Oliver. And I was bit. I was 5 years old and on the stage and ready to go.
Do you have memory of that? Or is
I
it
have
the story?
no, I do have I have serious memories of being backstage and being in the holding room where we had to wait before we went on stage and looking up to the high school actors and the kids. I was absolutely enamored.
I too have this
Absolutely
strange
enamored.
memory of my first stage experience. I too was in kindergarten and I played Uncle Sam. And I remember having this huge Uncle Sam hat, like one of those tall hats, right? With
Yes.
the whole red, white, and blue outfit. And I have this memory of walking across the stage up onto these risers, and the lights being super bright and the audience laughing. And I don't remember what I did, but the audience laughed. And I remember that being like,
Oh.
okay, okay.
And my mom was an actress. And so you know, it everything theater was everything to my family. It was how we spent our free time. It was how they made money. It was how we existed. It's the language that we have to this day. My dad and I will sit for hours and just talk about a show. or a director or
Jealous of that.
A Sondheim lyric, right?
Wow. I'm super jealous of that in the sense that, my family, nobody's in theater. In fact, they had literally never seen a professional production of a theater show until I was in one.
Wow. So you really like went off the reservation or you
Yes,
went off to a different world.
absolutely. Because I grew up in Traverse City, which is, you know,
Gorgeous.
gorgeous northern Michigan, even more gorgeous now than it was then. But there was
Vacation.
vacation land. There
Yeah.
was a great community theater there. Where that I
Okay.
had these amazing mentors, and they brought people in from New York and whatnot. But also, there was a summer stock there, Cherry County Playhouse, and I got my first pro gig at 16, 15 at Cherry County. So it
Wow.
that
Can I plug Kalamazoo, Michigan for a minute? I grew up younger than, but also seeing on our stages here in Kalamazoo and being directed by my father, Marion Mazie, Jerry Dixon, Jerry Mitchell, like them as college students experiencing and practicing and getting ready for their lives out in, to become who they are today started, with local directors and local theater. And that's always stayed with me. That's why my business is what it is today.
isn't that really, what it's about? That local theater, yes, it's about Broadway. Yes, we the shiny of all that, but really it is about that connection. You mentioned your business today. So let's fast forward out of the theater kid, and we're
Theater
in
kid.
we're
I
in
took
we're in
a sideways
university.
track to jazz, but yeah.
We're in university and you're singing. Sidetrack
Yes.
to jazz.
Yeah. 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 So to blow both of my parents' minds away, I chose not to study theater in college. I wanted to be a better musician. What I was drawn to always was the music. And I chose and was able to get into the School of Music, um, on a jazz scholarship and other scholarships to be able to pursue becoming a better musician. And that's really where my school year was spent as a singer. And then my summers, I was always doing theater. I would meet like a lot of my friends in college would go off and do singing gigs at like Cedar Point or Great America. But I was always like, nope, I'm going to do summer stock. Right. So I was balancing that always. But music was always the thing that kind of drew me in. And I ended up really focused on jazz and working and being in a part of a, you know, multi-award winning, world-renowned group called Gold Company at Western. And um, but most of my friends were in the theater department, which is leads to you,
Yeah.
right? Even though I was like in the music school and I love my music friends, I was always like leaning in towards the theater folk.
Yeah. And what then led you from there? Because what I'm kind of jumping here for a
Yeah.
second, but you did you go to New York? Did you go to Chicago? Like, what was your next step after that? Because I know you found your way into corporate marketing. How did that happen?
Oh gosh.
The theater
So
kid go to corporate marketing.
right. So I did a production of Into the Woods, followed very quickly by a production of Fiddler on the Roof. And around that time, I knew during summer stock, I knew that I was kind of ready to move. And I knew that I was meant to live in the city. This was like right at the end of college. And so what many of us did living in the Midwest is we migrate towards Chicago. Right. It's the first big city with an art scene, with a music scene, with a theater scene. And so I moved to Chicago and to pursue music, right, to pursue singing. And at the same time, what do we all do? Oh God, we have to have a day job. We have to figure out how to make money. Like we can't just exist on, creating and auditioning. And so I managed to get a temp job at an ad agency. And it was called J. Walter Thompson. I think it still exists. I don't know. J. Walter Thompson. And my temp position quickly became a full-time position because I became obsessed. Maybe that's the ADHD in me, but I was like on a zone, obsessed with the people that worked in advertising, that made advertising, that created marketing and created storytelling in that space. And I quickly became known as somebody who also could do voiceovers. So I ended up splitting my time between working as like an admin at the agency and doing voiceover work for demos. So pretty soon I was like the voice of craft. I was doing Philadelphia cream cheese and craft shreds and craft singles, like all of the demos that were being done to present to the clients. So I found my way to this world and I absolutely loved it. And that really led to me saying, okay, well, Chicago's fun, but all my friends are in New York. I really want to go there. So, we're such scrappy people, Nick, right? Like we'll just pick up, but like I'll put stuff in two boxes in a suitcase and I moved to New York. I slept on the couch of my best friend Lori Baker and her new husband Jim, like for 2 weeks before I found my own apartment. That's just like the way, like I hope that I teach students at Western now, so I hope that they all still have that in them. Right, that ability to like just jump in, and that's what I did in New York. So I ended up in New York, and moved into gray advertising, and worked my way up the corporate ladder, as they say, and landed at Teen People, which was a brand new magazine at the time. And I helped them. I worked in marketing and worked for the publisher to help mold and craft what Teen People was to teenagers in the turn, in the aughts in 2000, 2002.
Okay. I love that you said that about like just having that gumption basically to like
Yeah.
get up and go. I didn't go to Chicago. I went to New York and I went to New I didn't graduate. I don't know if you remember this. I left school and I moved to New York. I had never been there ever in my life.
Crazy.
Never been there. I knew two people in the entire city when I got
Yeah.
there. I had a suitcase and $800. And I always say, like Peggy Sawyer, I had my tap shoes. Like
Yeah.
that was it. And I just went. And I think we have to talk about like bravery here for a
Yeah.
second, both of us, because this was before the internet, right? This is
Oh,
before a time where you could look something up. You just
we
had,
had email, maybe,
I didn't
right?
have email even when I moved
We
there.
had email. Yeah.
I didn't even have an email address when I moved there. Like it was like, go figure it out. Good luck.
Hmm.
So I moved there in 91. Good luck. So I think it's really, we have to commend ourselves. I'm giving ourselves a little pat on the back, but also I love that you're saying, I sure hope the kids still have that in them, right? Like that they have that same drive. It was a drive for me. And I think in many ways I was running from as much as I was running to, but
Sure.
as we do when you're young, right? Like that's a
Oh,
natural progression of life.
we all had grand dreams and grand big vision for what we could do. And there's a fearlessness that some people have and some people don't. Right.
So how do you maintain that fearlessness now is really the question, right?
Well, I think I've always had it. I think it I I mean this is not an episode about ADHD, but I do think there's such a big place for it in my journey. Um, because I'm so unafraid to try new things. And I'm so unafraid to pivot and so unafraid to experiment. And so that's always been a part of my DNA. And so fearlessness, I think, comes from that, because we don't necessarily have a sense of like what the consequences could be. We're just trying to create, we're just trying to drive, we're just trying to make new things.
You're making me question if I have ADHD because I'm exactly the same. Because
Oh,
I just try it. If it fails, it fails. Okay, but gone on to the next. But I think that there's a part of that helps one be successful
yeah.
because you have to fail a gazillion times, as you well know, in order to have an actual success. People only remember the successes, but I can tell you the thousands of failures that I've had.
Oh God. Oh God, absolutely. And when you're raised in like a little bit of when you're raised in kind of in an industry family, I guess I'll say, the stakes are a little bit higher.
I bet.
And perhaps that's one of the reasons why I did not um I really did lean into wanting to find a career in marketing and lean into wanting to learn more in that world than I actually ended up wanting to do as an artist and as a singer.
Mm.
I just tunnel vision became just so curious and excited about the process of creating stories that helped sell things, which
Yeah,
sounds really weird, but like that part of that and also being in publishing and working, for the People brand, it was a huge education in what drives audiences to care about what they care about. And that's really at the heart of what we do, right? Is like figuring out who is your ideal person, who's that special person that is unique to wanting to care about you and figuring that out and celebrating that and finding them. And that's really what print taught me. And that's what like the movement, the migration into websites, right? When people.com launched, it was like everything. It's like, how are we moving everything online quickly?
I
And
always,
and there were people that stood back and they're like, absolutely not. I reject this. I am anti this. I am traditional. And I was like, oh no, I'm going there. Right? I'm going to go learn everything I possibly can about this thing called the internet, and I'm going to become an expert in how to create content for it. And that was in the early aughts. So,
and I feel the same about AI now. It's like you've got to embrace, you know,
oh yeah.
it's because it's just coming. There's no stopping it now. It's like, how can you use the tool most effectively for you, right?
Oh, oh, yes. And it's interesting. Anecdote. My daughter was given 3 days of after school detention because she's using AI. And
Yeah.
I chose to use that as a learning moment to help the school understand that we can't just give children um, after school detentions for it. We have to help them figure out how to use it correctly.
Yeah.
And so now I'm on like a school board, like parent group, helping them figure out how to actually help people use AI. I believe in it. I think that it's a tool that we can use. It's a tool in our arsenal to help us support the ideas we're trying to create. And the public school system just isn't quite there yet. So
Well, that makes sense to me.
yeah.
Of course, you're ahead of the curve and they're a little behind the
Yeah,
curve. And,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
But you're right. You're actually, it's a good analogy. It's absolutely correct.
So, okay, so you're in corporate now, you're working in the magazine, what was there a significant event or a moment that made you go, I need to make a shift here?
Um, yeah, fast forward to getting married, having two kids, and finding myself as a vice president of a major ad agency running the major partnership accounts for Walmart.com. And so I was working with Procter and Gamble, Johnson and Johnson, Kraft, Microsoft. I mean, you name it. I was literally traveling to all of these places constantly, while trying to raise a very young family. And it was exciting. It was fun. Sometimes I'd turn around and be like, how am I here? Like, how do I have 20 people reporting to me? How am I creating social media and creating video content for Pampers in this way, and it's going out to the world. It's like everything I'd ever dreamed of,
Mm.
right? How am I creating? It was a new world then. It was like, well, wait, you can put videos on a website that actually like have a story around them that at the end might want to sell something. It's almost like the model of like the soap operas back in the 50s. Like, like it was Procter and Gamble's As the World Turns. Well, like, this new world was like, well, let's create real content with real people, reality television, and let's have a point towards a product, right? That's really what I was driving in the retail space. And it was exciting and fun. And I was very, very busy and I wasn't home a lot, to be honest with you. At one point, my youngest daughter's teacher called and said, we need a conference. I said, okay, great. I'll be home here. Let's go. And she said, Eliza's had a hard time in school. She's been having some meltdowns. And after she said to us recently, I feel like I don't have a mom. And that was the moment that I went, okay, a shift is going to happen.
Yeah.
And I was, because again, I was so hyper focused in this world of my career and of the work I was doing, which was exciting and fun. And I said, okay, that has to change. I'm now going to pivot in the biggest way I've ever pivoted in my life. And I realized I had to do a real like evaluation. And of course, this was done like in a meltdown in O'Hare Airport in a ball because I missed my flight home, right? It's like, that kind of like moment of like despair of like, I'm at the bottom right now. I was like, I have to assess like what I love and what I don't love and what I do, what like to do and don't like to do. I know that I don't really want to work for other people anymore. I have never loved having to be somewhere on time at certain times. I don't like rules. I never liked like, having like a set of expectations and rules. I always fought them. And so I said, I need to go into business for myself. How do I do that? Right? How do I create a company that uses all the skills that I have to help, to serve a need? And what I realized was like that I'd been to a show, I'd been to a production of Mary Poppins that was really well received. It got great reviews. Word of mouth was okay. And I went to the second weekend of the show and it was half full. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? How can this show be so good? What this show was incredible. What's going on? Why isn't this show selling out? And I really that was my aha moment. I was like, okay, wait a minute. Let me figure out how to help small theaters market their shows in a way that brings their marketing into the 21st century and helps them understand social media, use it as a tool, and learn how to make content for the screen in order to sell live theater. And that's when the Theater Marketing Lab was born. And I took off and COVID hit. And I became an expert in helping theaters create content online. So that was the time when everyone was doing, Zoom readings. I mean, we're gonna like this might be a trauma-inducing part for some artists that are listening, but like when you had to do Zoom readings or you had to like perform in a benefit, right, for the theater that you loved, and you had to go in and sing on your, into your phone. I helped theaters produce those kind of things for a year or so, and that helped me really grow a business where today I've helped almost 3,000 theaters learn how to market their productions better.
That's incredible. It really is. And I love that what I love about this is that you kind of took your childhood love and your marketing
Exactly.
love and you brought your loves together in a very simple and yet profound way, ultimately. But you're working now with individual artists as well. Is that correct?
I am, I hit an interesting point in 2022 when I was, obviously my business was very busy working with theaters. But what I saw and what I was really interested in, because again, I like to pivot, I like to see what's happening next, was that artists were struggling with marketing. And it happened organically. It happened through like Instagram direct messages and Facebook direct messages where I started getting, hey, Julie, I saw that you do this for theaters. I saw that you helped out the theater I worked in to do, next to normal. I'm wondering if you can help me with my marketing. I really don't know what to do out in the world of websites and social media. And I was like, oh, how interesting. Well, brand marketing is a big part of what I've done done in the for-profit world.
Yeah.
So how do we take brand marketing and how do I create a way for artists to embrace it and also use it authentically? And so organically, it just happened where I just started getting artists that really wanted to work with me.
I
And
love
right. And they need kind of the skills I have, which is like high empathy. I'm a mom, so I know how to nurture, right? I know how to help guide and not and not make people feel uncomfortable. But I also know how to structure and I know how to help people with roadmaps and frameworks to help them make it easier. to tell their own stories through the content they create that helps them ultimately, hopefully, either get their work produced or get a job as an artist.
Well, and I think that there's a mindset shift there that has to happen for
Sure.
so many people in order to be creative, to feel creative and be innovative and just have that mindset in the landscape that we're in today. Can you talk about like what kind of quality does a person need to have in order to do that? What are some of the qualities?
So it's interesting. I also teach at Western Michigan University, full circle friend, that I'm back teaching where I went to school.
Go Broncos.
It's a little bit crazy walking on campus going, oh my God. But I teach juniors and seniors in college brand marketing. So I teach a class called Personal Marketing for the Performing Artist. And I also teach that online to professional artists. And um, what's required is the openness and the interest in telling your own stories and finding out who you are and being able to produce that and pull that out into the world. And that's a space that artists sometimes have to work into, right? Until my class, I dare say, a lot of the students that went into the arts programs didn't necessarily get a lot of help in what to do after that diploma is handed to them and they're off. I don't know about you, but I was like, it was like, bye-bye. I don't think I had nobody gave me any help in
Nobody gave us
figuring out what to
any
do.
business sense,
None,
any business help. Zero. We got
none,
zero, nothing, none. It was like,
nothing.
good
Right?
luck, go
Good
out in
luck.
the world.
Good
And
luck and God bless.
really was
And
figuring it
here's a
out.
name of somebody that I know. And good luck. Right. So there was no process behind it. And that's a little bit more of my marketing brain is like, well, how do we set process and frameworks to help artists manage this? And it's a big thing because, again, artists don't necessarily think about themselves a lot. They think about what characters can I play or what music can I write next or what orchestra can I play in? What show can I direct?
Yeah.
Right? The gig
So many
economy of
times.
artists, right? But my challenge to them is like we need to know who you are as a human being and that's what people hire,
Yeah.
right? They hire how you enter the room. They hire how you, yes, how you perform, but they hire the essence of who you are. And if you can come into a space and know what that is, you've won.
I don't
Because then
think
it
I
doesn't
understood.
matter. Then it doesn't matter,
I
you
didn't
know?
understand that at all when I was younger, that
Me
they were hiring
either.
me, not like my talent. It was like all about the talent. I had no idea until I flipped tables and I was on the other side of the room watching, because there's lots of talent out there. You're hiring that person, that connection that you have with them. And that's for all artists, not just for performing artists, not, for
Correct.
any form of art, whether you're
Correct.
the author of the play, whether you're the composer, whether it's all about that human connection and the vulnerability that you're willing to share and the authenticity that you're
Yeah.
willing to be. We love those most authentic people, right? We're like, oh, she's like the real deal. We
Oh,
hear that a lot, right?
I actually teach this in class, but I work with a lot of playwrights. I work with a lot of writers because they're one of the group of artists I think that struggle the most with how they can be themselves out in the world, to promote their work. And I teach Lauren Gunderson constantly because she is like the epitome of a writer, a playwright, a librettist, like whatever she's doing, she is so uniquely and authentically herself. And she has so figured out her branding in a way that isn't obnoxious or contrived,
Yeah.
that she is singular in how she stands out in the world, on social media, on press, like how she gets earned media. And she's a huge beacon for me because I think that she's really figured it out. And I think that's why her success has followed her. She's one
Yeah.
of she was like the second most produced playwright in 23, and then in 24 I think she was like the third.
It's amazing. It's
Yeah.
really fantastic. Okay. Fast forward yourself 5 years from today.
Oh gosh.
What's been added to this creative journey, to this story?
Oh, well, 5 years from now, I feel like I will be having a thriving and quite renowned um, community of artists and women who have come together to make some changes. Um, After the election, I was really down, and I went through a period of about 6 weeks where I just did a lot of dog walking with my puppy. And I'd find myself out for 2 hours, 3 hours. And I was really just like, it was that moment of like, well, what's it all about, Alfie? Right? I was like, what's going to happen? Like, what do I do? And you're just like me, Nick. We are inherently, there's like something inside of us that just needs to do things. Like we need to do something. We need to affect change. And so I talked with a lot of friends, a lot of colleagues from all over the world, and really came to the realization that what was missing right now is a group where women can come together, whether they're artists or they're supporters of the arts, and figure out how to be in community, how to gather, how to advocate efficiently and effectively, and how to create together and how to lift up female artists and female identifying artists across all genres, writing, music, theater. Obviously, that's my heart, theater, film. How do we do it in a way that is realistic? And how do we do it to create change? And so that's my passion project, the Broad Impact Network, and that in 5 years, I can imagine that that's really the center of my business. Is that's where I spend most of my time in elevating and lifting up female artists.
Legacy is what you're talking about.
Yes, absolutely.
We're at that.
That, that my daughter can work on in 10 years.
Yeah, we're
Absolutely.
at that phase, right? We're at the phase of legacy in many ways, which is
Oh,
like,
for sure.
wait, what? How did this happen? How did I get to that place
Right.
where
This is my act three.
I
This is the
act
11 o'clock.
three?
This is the 11 o'clock number, my
Yes.
friend. This is my Rose's turn.
Yes. Oh, have you seen Audra yet?
Not yet. No, I have not been back to New York since, oh God, October.
Okay. All right. I want to say that it's been a pleasure to talk with you today, but it's also been a pleasure to be in your life all these years and to
Oh,
have these touch points that we do and these the intersection. It's so amazing how we continue to find the intersect as we've gotten wiser. Um,
wiser. Yes. And I just let me just say, I think that by with the core of your skills and your expertise and your gifts around helping people tell stories and helping them figure out how to do that in a meaningful way is more important than ever. Like I can't remember, I don't know if there's a time in our lives, Nick, in the 30 years that we've known one another where it could be more important than now to tell stories. And to find the people that help us do that better is a gift. So
and
kudos to you.
those that help us get that word out, which is what
Yeah.
you do. Because you can tell all the stories you want in a vacuum,
Yeah.
right? If you're not actually getting them out into the world, then it's not going to have the effect, the impact that you want. And so part
Exactly.
of that impact is really vulnerably, authentically sharing it in the world in a way that's strategic,
Yeah,
right? And so they need you as much as they need me. And with that,
agree.
where can they find you?
So head over to julienimitz.com. I'm sure it'll probably a link will be in the
Yeah.
comments. And you can see everything that I do there. If you're an artist, we can work together. I've got online. You'd like to do things independently. I've got coaching, I've got consulting if you've got an organization that needs support. Broad Impact Network, broadimpact.network. We're currently in founding member and launch mode. So if you're a female identifying person who believes in the arts, check that out.
Thank
I'd
you.
love to have you.
Truly, thank you for being here today and for your friendship. I appreciate
You
you.
too. You too. You're the best.
Thank you so very much for listening. I know that you've got lots of choices out there. There's so many podcasts these days, and the fact that you spent this time with me and with Julie today means so much. We'll see you on the next episode.